I'm going to open the meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission for this Wednesday, May the 8th. First item is the call to order. We still have one member who may show up here in a little bit, but we'll just go ahead and get started. The second item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, which you all may have seen. Are there any questions or comments about the agenda additions? If not, I need a motion to approve the agenda in a second.
I approve.
Okay.
Vote to approve or move to approve.
Move to approve and a
I'll
second.
second.
Second, okay. Then we have the third item, approval of the last minutes that we had back in March. If you had a chance to read through those.
Mhm.
Any comments or corrections?
I have a couple of corrections, Laura. They're very well done, by the way. But this summary I know is hard. Under the last paragraph, under the update of Chapter 31 recommendations, the last two words are design guidelines, and criteria should be in there instead of guidelines. And did you get that one? Okay. And the second paragraph under the awardees, selecting awardees, under Ms. Winder reference the Secretary of the Interior standards and add in there regarding how restoration is defined. And then after City of Ames, instead of standards were, cross that out and put definition is. That's it.
Okay. Any other further comments? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Motion,
I move to approve.
okay, thank you.
Second.
All right. Okay, the fourth item on the agenda is our public forum, and I must admit, in the past, I've read this whole paragraph, but I guess it's really not necessary since we don't have anybody here today. But it is time to set aside for public comments, but we have no one available to come forward. So we'll just move on to the next agenda item, which is the election of officers for this coming year. And before, yes. Oh, okay. So before we get started on the election, what I'd like to do is have our new members introduce themselves. Mary Jo hasn't had an opportunity. I met them last week at a little introductory meeting, but tell us about yourselves a little bit so Mary Jo can get up to speed.
Yeah, my name is Scott Huffman. I moved here with my family this past July. Both my wife and I were formerly Iowa State students. That's what brought us to Ames in the first place. Then we left for about 10 years to go start our careers and have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and got to the point that we were ready and longing to come back here with them. So we made the move back down here. I am an architect. I work in Des Moines at Slingshot Architecture, and kind of with that background, have a particular interest in buildings in general, and as well as in historical buildings and protecting kind of that fabric in our existing building stock and using it appropriately.
We need an architect on our.
We got one. I'm Lisa Muchagrosso. I moved to Ames in January of 2022, so a year and a half ago. I'm the collections conservator at the Iowa State University Library. The short elevator pitch is that I fix old books. So clearly an interest in historic preservation of all types of materials. And I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. And I might have you give a quick snapshot of what your background is, Mary Jo.
Okay. Oh, I'm going on my third year on the commission. I have worked in historic preservation for cities and planning departments for over 30 years, but I retired in 2011. So, but I'm from Ames originally too, so I'm really interested in sharing my experience with this commission. So
Great.
I just moved back in December of 2020. Yeah.
Angie Colts is another existing committee member who wasn't able to be here tonight, but she's also represents the Old Town District and has been a very active member this past year too. So I'm sure you'll be interested in meeting her when she's at our next meeting. So, and Bob hasn't shown yet, so I'm hoping he just didn't get lost in the fray here, but we'll catch him up. Do we have enough to go ahead with the election? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what we need to do is have an election of officers. We do this every year, and I'm of the mind, I served this past year, that you rotate among membership. That way everybody gets a fun crack at the job, but we all help each other. I will say that. So what I'd like to do is ask for nominations, and I need a motion and then a seconding for it. And new people can be chairs as well, or vice chairs. So if you have an interest in being the chair, please be sure that us old members would be more than happy to be assisting with the job. So do we have a nomination? And you can nominate yourself.
And we cannot nominate anyone that's not here.
No, we cannot nominate anyone else here. So unfortunately, you can't throw people under the bus. But there are times, but So would either of you be willing to serve as a chair with multiple co-chairs, so to speak?
I'd be willing to
Oh, good job.
be a chair or vice chair either way.
So would you like to make a motion to nominate yourself?
Sure, I will motion to nominate myself for chair of the commission.
Do we have a second?
I second that nomination.
Okay. So we have a nomination and a seconding. I would say we open for voting. All those in favor of Scott serving as our chair for this coming year? All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
And Scott, you have now, you've inherited.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So now we need a motion for a co-chair, a vice chair, which is basically if you weren't able to attend the meeting, the vice chair will step in and run the meeting. But usually we all kind of help each other know what's going on. So there's that. Do we have a nomination for? Well, I guess you're supposed to be running the rest of the meeting, but I'll go ahead and finish this out. Do we have any nominations for the vice chair?
Who is the current vice chair?
Mary Jo. Okay. Would you be willing to serve again as a vice chair?
I will.
As a
As a
continuing member of the?
vice chair. Yeah, I will.
Okay, so,
I only had to sit in on 2 meetings. I
yeah,
think
that's true, but they were good ones. So you accept the nomination?
Yeah,
Okay, do we have a
Yes.
seconding for the nomination? Moved,
I'll second.
seconded? Okay, and Mary Jo, if you would be happy to serve, that would be good. And, again, if something came up, we have other members who could easily step in to run the meeting, So with that, Scott, you get to run the rest of the meeting.
Surprise.
All right.
The
Sounds
agenda.
great. Yeah.
nothing
The
like
ball is in your,
bouncing
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But again, we follow the rules of order, but again, it's a loose
Mhm.
adoption. So friendly amendments, friendly motions, that kind of thing. So Turn it
Sounds
over to
good.
you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the Chapter 31 revision project discussion. There were some notes sent out for the new members on kind of a summary of what has been being discussed over the past few sessions. Seems like it was an emphasis on sections 31.10 and 31.11, kind of through, it's kind of 31.10 through 31.15 is kind of the focus area. Admittedly, being new, I wasn't in most of those discussions, so I'm not exactly sure where we're picking the thread up from. But it appears this is kind of an open discussion time amongst the commission for that. So does anybody have any comments or a spot they would like to start?
I wrote the memo, so I'll kind of summarize.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've looked at the ordinance at all, but there were at least 2 other commissioners that went off right after we started working on the ordinance. So we had a professor from Iowa State in historic preservation that was our chair at that time. And we started looking at the ordinance and finding a lot of issues with it. It's my understanding that it's an ordinance from 1989, so it's pretty old. And we were concerned primarily about it being easy to understand and making it more consistent and revising and adding some definitions is how we started out with looking at it. I think we worked on it for almost a year, and we got to the certificate of appropriateness section, and we decided there was some issues with how that procedure was done and how it was defined, and some of the issues for that particular procedure. And that's the primary function of this commission, is to review projects that affect historic resources. So we wanted it to be clear for the applicant. We wanted it to have as much information to guide the staff and the commission in making decisions. And and just even more recently, then we started realizing that there's a section of design criteria. I don't know if you looked at that at all. That is basically guidelines for what you review. But we had talked in the past a lot about doing a separate illustrated design guideline document for people in historic districts or owners of historic landmarks, or people that aren't necessarily under the regulations, but it would be a guideline for them if they wanted to restore or rehab their house according to the standards. So it's kind of a multiple purpose project. So the last thing we did was we went through the certificate of appropriateness section and kind of reworked some of the sections and a little bit of the wording. Mostly it was just moving some of the steps around. And at some point, I'm going to be writing all of this up. So
Sounds good.
I took notes, and I hopefully got everything. And then the other major thing that we talked about is the code references the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. And there was what I considered to be kind of a glitch in it, because the code actually guides a property owner or an applicant to replicate a style rather than to make it compatible, which is what the Secretary of Interior standards do. So I worked on some wording for that, and we discussed that a little bit too. So those were the two areas in certificate of appropriateness that we actually discussed. And then we didn't discuss the design criteria, but when the Susan and Angie Colts and I have been working on the committee.
Okay.
For the past couple of years on this. Susan and I met. Angie wasn't able to, but she reviewed what we did. But we decided that, or our feelings were that our belief was that the illustrated design guidelines are such an integral part of this project that we really need to pursue getting some way to get those done, which it's going to cost money or time or something. It's going to be a lot of work. There are a lot of examples, though, that can be used for guidelines. So, anyway, the things that Susan and I discussed and we're recommending is, and I don't know how much time you have. You're both working. We're both retired, so we have a lot of time to work on it. But what we would like to do, and we didn't consult with staff. Normally, we've been consulting with staff on this, but I forgot. Sorry, Ray. But you read the memo.
I did. Yep, I did.
So anyway, we'd like to look at other cities' ordinances, especially the certificate of appropriateness sections. I've reviewed just a little of 3 different cities. All of them are quite different than the Ames's ordinance. But we thought that ordinances that had been either created or amended within the last 15 years might be a good guide.
Yes.
So we wanted to get Iowa City specifically. We thought we'd start there. So, and I looked at Dubuque, Iowa City, and Cedar Rapids. Oh, no, Des Moines. I looked at Des Moines. So, anyway, that's the one thing we wanted to do. Another thing that the commission has discussed is there's a National Association of Preservation Commissions. It's the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. And they do workshops and participate in, they used to have an annual meeting. I don't know, national meeting. I don't know if they still do that. But they also offer workshops. It's called CAMP, where they will come out and do a workshop in a community, and then it's usually advertised around the state or locally or regionally. I guess somebody from Illinois or Nebraska could come too. We had talked about contacting them about doing that. So that's another thing I think that would help us if we could get someone with the National Alliance that has, could do like a certificate of appropriateness as a subject matter. That would be helpful, and it would be helpful for other cities too. So then the third thing that we thought would be a good direction is to pursue ways that we can see about getting illustrated design guidelines written for the city. So that's kind of where we are with that. We've put in a lot of work, and there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's probably a 4 or 5 year project. The politics of it is going to be an issue. There's, a methodology that to get it to the city council that we've got to consider. We may have to have public meetings.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of components to it that are dependent on how much time the commission has, staff resources,
Mhm.
and the politics of it too. So
Mhm.
it's just, it's pretty complicated.
Would you anticipate this being the main focus then of the commission in the next 4 to 5 years?
I would say yes. Our certificate of appropriateness review is very slow. There's been one since I've been on the commission, I think.
Really? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Staff does a lot of review, and there are things that are more minor projects that the staff reviews. So I don't know how many of those the staff has reviewed in the last 2 years. But I mean, we've tried to have a discussion every meeting, even if we don't have anything on the agenda.
Mhm.
We've also reviewed National Register nominations and that sort of thing. So,
Right.
but as far as certificate of appropriateness review, that there's not that much activity. So we really do have time to
Mhm.
do the, to do a project like that.
Yep.
And I mean, if it may take 10 years. I think the ones that us that are still on the commission from previous years really feel it's important.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I can't say where it's going to go, but
Mhm.
that's what we've been doing.
So one of the things like the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions,
Mhm.
our commission just became members this past year.
Oh, nice.
That was part of our budgetary expenditures. And so we will probably need to, we would like to renew it because we have used it as a resource in looking at illustrated design guidelines from other places.
Mhm.
Also, the idea of doing a public education, using their resources of, they have a whole range of professionals that can come in to do the camps. And there might be, we've done workshops in the past on a tax, what was it, the thing that Ted did, the tax credit speakers. And we've talked about doing that again too, because never hurts to remind people of these resources that are available and things like that. So that's something that would be part of the work program that you guys saw, and kind of fits in with some of these things. So maybe when we get everybody together, we can see if recommended subcommittees people might work on. So
Great.
Sounds good. One question, do we have currently, do we have a working document or anything set up for anything that has been previously discussed for alterations to the ordinance, or is that something that we could get set up just so as we go, month to month with our meetings, we at least have something that's kind of keeping track of, not things that are set in stone, but at least proposals or ideas that are occurring. So we can see kind of, hey, we're thinking about striking this out, adding this language, et cetera. Just
Yeah,
one spot that everybody can go to quick and,
right.
I can
Yeah.
I can do that with a certificate of appropriateness
Okay.
section, what we've done on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
Secretary of Interior thing too.
Well, that would be,
Part
that
of
would be
it,
part
yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I'll do that for the next meeting.
All of the things that we do right now are putting together our recommendations
Yes.
that go to the staff.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, it's been considerable time that we
Mhm.
spent as a commission on that.
Yep.
So. Okay.
Wonderful. Any other discussion points on that topic?
No. Yeah.
All right. We'll move on with our agenda. Next item is annual review of Historic Preservation Commission bylaws.
Oops, missed one.
We missed.
Did I skip one? I
Number
did.
7.
I wrote
Okay.
next to number 7, so I threw myself off.
That's okay.
7 is discuss participation in Ames Main Street's 515 celebration.
That's me. That's why I noticed that.
Yeah, that's all right. Take it away.
All right.
Yeah.
Last week I met with Casey Vance, who's with the Ames History Museum, and the woman who's the Crystal Davis, who's the Ames Main Street director, for the 515 week that's coming up this next week.
Mhm.
And where it started out as a one-day thing, then it became a weekend because of the way they tried to do it on May 15th was on a weekend, so they made it a weekend long. And this year, first time, they're trying to do a week-long kind of celebration and have different things. So let me pass this down. You can see that's the poster that they were proposing. They're going to have a history night next Thursday, which is kind of nice. One of our prior commission members, Edie, was working with them about, some ideas of what to do. She was at this meeting last week. So what they're going to be doing maybe is several of the businesses are going to sponsor posters. And so the Ames History Museum is kind of putting together these 11 by 17 posters that will highlight maybe prior businesses that were in the buildings for them. So they can see what it was before and then try to have a few bullet points about historical facts, that occurred there and stuff like that. They may be doing, the Ames History Museum may be doing a history walk because the Main Street is a historic district, a national historic district. And they would host that themselves. How we may help as part of the commission, and we partner with the Ames History Museum on different things. They have certainly were helpful for us when we were doing our most recent intensive survey. Their staff were excellent in helping with photographs and all sorts of maps and things like that, and participated in our public meeting, or they were present at the public meeting to help answer questions about the history of the neighborhoods. So this is kind of like a working relationship that we have with them, and also with our work plan, kind of in our education part, our partnership with the Ames History Museum to host a community history event in 2023. Well, this is a way that we can partner with them. So as a commission, they would like to have us participate by being at one of the buildings maybe where they have a poster and they would provide the information about it. And the times that they would be doing this that might work out would be from 5 to 7 or 6 to 7, whatever would work for the volunteers, and basically just answer questions. And I think, Ray, we probably would need a name tag for ourselves if we participate. We might even have some somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Name, and that we're on the Historic Preservation, the city's Preservation Commission, that kind of a thing, just to identify us. But we would meet at the Chamber of Commerce office early on, and they would kind of sprinkle us around the street, so to speak, at different places where buildings are, and just answer questions and tell people. I was thinking, for those of you who are willing to volunteer, I'm going to volunteer, to also mention that, May is Historic Preservation Month, and that we just recently had our awards at City Council meeting, and 2 of the awardees are the Plantatorium, where the Ames History Museum is, and then another building that is at the corner of Burnett and Fifth. Yeah, that would be easily viewed by people who are down and out and about, so that would be a way to, also elevate some of the things that the commission has done recently for that. So If you're interested in volunteering, let me know. You can send me an email or let me know here. Like I said, it's just a short period of time, and it kind of gives us a little public presence and also helps our friends at the Ames History Museum as well. So
And that's on Thursday night.
it's on Thursday the 18th, right?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if we want to volunteer, then just go to the Chamber of Commerce building, meet
Yeah.
there, and then we'll meet with somebody from the
Right,
History
Chris-
Museum. And
Right. Crystal Davis, who's the Main Street coordinator, she's going to be there, she said. And then at 6, the kind of, 5 to 7, she'll be there to distribute the stuff and help give us an idea, assignments of where to go.
Hmm.
And then, but if your work situation is such you couldn't arrive until after that, let her know. She gave me her phone number and she'll meet with you and afterwards. But yeah, and by that time I'll have gotten once I know information to you like name badges. I can get those to Crystal or something like that ahead of time.
It says 5, so we should,
Yeah, 5 to 7 would be the best time to have people out at the location.
okay, but we need to get our assignment, so we need to be there before 5.
Probably a little before 5.
Okay.
Yeah, to get the assignment,
Okay.
and that might give me, and I'll get the name badges to Crystal ahead of time so she can.
I'll do it. I haven't volunteered
Sure,
before,
sure.
but if
I hope it's a nice night. It would
I
be so
was
great,
going to ask if there was a rain date.
Yeah, really. Thursday nights or when the businesses are open later,
Yeah.
and they've really enjoyed. They're also going to have music that night. They said they were kind of using the music walk as a way to kind of test drive some of the music acts and then invite some of them. They try to get a different mix. And so all of the bump out areas along Main Street will have a music act there. So they want different kinds of music, different locations, kind of zigzagging across. And then they have the different posters, and they'll have different specials this week, to encourage people to walk through the different stores.
Oh, sounds
But,
great.
We're this is kind of gives that extra, if it's history night, to
Right.
give the extra boost to, well, what's so
Yeah.
neat about this building,
Mhm.
and they give a boost that way. So.
I love
So,
this.
Anyway, so let me know if you would have the time to join with, and we'll get that, and I'll check with you on the other stuff then.
Okay.
So that's all
Sounds
I
great.
have for the 515.
All right, thank you. Sounds like
Uh-huh.
a fantastic opportunity. I'll plan on being there. I have to check my schedule first. Make sure
Sure. Well,
kids don't have anything going on that night, but I think we should be good.
okay, great.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
Bring them with. Yeah, they can
Yeah,
be
well,
docents
true. I could
too.
bring them.
Why not?
Park them at Marmalade
Yeah,
Road,
I mean,
eat
it's
some
a
ice cream.
family
They'll be
thing.
happy.
Yeah, bring the kid,
Yeah. All right. Next item, we'll get it correct this time. Annual review of Historic Preservation Commission bylaws.
Yeah, that's something that the commission reviews each
Mhm,
year.
annually.
Just, hey, we don't have to go through it necessarily. It's just if as you've received a copy ahead of time, if you have any changes you think need to be made or would like to have them made, we can't vote on it this meeting, but you could vote on it the next meeting.
So we could make a recommendation and then for
Well-
consideration and then vote next time.
Yeah, I mean, it actually says in there, in writing,
Okay,
if you have an amendment in writing, then it can be considered at the next
oh,
meeting.
there it is. Okay,
So-
gotcha.
So anyway, if you have anything, we haven't changed anything since 2017, I believe,
Mm.
but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There just hasn't been a good reason to change it. So, but if you have something at this meeting, I think we could put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
And if you don't, that's fine too.
Yes, Mary?
Ray, we've discussed attendance and commissioners missing so many meetings.
Hmm.
And whether, if there's a way that we could terminate a commissioner that had missed like 4
More than
meetings in a
that.
row or.
Mhm.
And under section 8, under
Oh,
article
yeah.
5, I wonder if there's some, I'm not sure if we could do that in the bylaws, if we could just, my idea was just having a method that we could notify the city council that this person has missed and that if there's another person waiting to be appointed or something, I don't know.
Yeah, in the past, as staff, if we see a pattern, of someone missing several meetings in a row, we'll mention it to the mayor. And then the mayor is actually
Mhm.
the one that decides whether, to ask that person to step down and, have someone else take that spot so that they're, here at the meetings.
Mhm.
The other person may just have conflicts they hadn't anticipated.
Right, I think if someone has, I think it's just if someone doesn't respond or doesn't, that if someone has a legitimate excuse, 3 or 4 meetings in a
Mhm.
row, that's one
Right.
thing. But and I don't know how often that's happened, but do you think we?
Is there a threshold, like 4 meetings and perhaps you
Well,
can rethink?
Yeah, if someone's missing 4 meetings in a row, we would probably talk to the mayor about it.
Yeah.
Well, we talk to the person and then we talk to,
Yep.
and see, are they going to be able to,
Continue.
come more frequently? Since we do depend on, people being here to get a quorum.
Yeah.
And if they feel like they can't really come more frequently, then we talk to the mayor.
Okay.
Should we put something in here about that? Would it be more, give more validity to that?
If you want to write up something, with that type of change, you probably ought to have, it says for amendments, write it up. If you want to write up something and bring it to the next meeting,
Okay.
then you could consider changing the bylaws at the following meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in June. It can be in July just as well.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we want it to be something that says you're automatically off.
No.
But that's
no.
why I was thinking if
Yeah.
the procedure was to notify the mayor
Mhm.
then after that meeting. And that way,
Yeah,
a commissioner would know to expect that.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. No,
Okay,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to
I
write
think
something
second
up.
sentence, the review may be made at the end of each calendar year. Seemed like a long time for us to go
Mhm.
without some.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even look at that. So, okay, I'll see if I can.
Okay,
do something
sounds good.
on that. And then it'll be on the next agenda.
We'll bring that to the next meeting and then we'll have the commission vote on it the following
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Or does someone else want to do that?
So,
I'll work with you on that one.
You'll work with me on it.
When is our June meeting? The 8th or something like that?
the next meeting,
Yeah.
whatever date, the second Monday is in June.
Second. I was thinking. Okay. Does it show 12th?
The
Okay.
12th, okay. Thanks, Laura.
Laura.
Uh,
Okay.
I'd like to bring something up. if it's
Mhm.
okay.
Absolutely.
Article 7, Section 1. Not about the agenda in particular, but delivered to the commission at least 3 days prior to the meeting. Do we want to specify calendar versus business days? Because we're getting this information on Friday, and then we're asked to, say if we're going to come by 9 a.m. on Monday. If someone's out for a long weekend, they might miss all of it entirely. So I wonder if it makes sense to think about business days as opposed to calendar days.
As far as adding items, we would
Mhm.
need to know more than 3 days before the meeting.
Right.
It would be that 2 weeks prior to the
Sure.
meeting, so that we could get that, because the deadline for the agenda really is 2 weeks prior to the meeting. So,
Okay. By the chairperson 2 weeks prior.
yeah, and then we send it out
Got
3 days before, but we would need to know if you have any changes 2 weeks,
Mhm.
that the latest 2 weeks ahead, so we can get that on the agenda.
So I think I was also concerned about RSVPing for the meeting. If we give folks just a long weekend to RSVP, if someone misses that email because maybe they're away, does it make sense to think about 3 business days as opposed to 3 calendar days? And if not,
Oh, yeah,
that's
I see what you mean. Mhm.
fine.
Just 3 days prior to the meeting. We would
Yep.
have to back everything up,
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I
yeah.
don't want to. I
Mhm,
don't want to cause
mhm.
undue
Yeah.
Well, if
I think
we
bureaucracy.
talk about the agenda 2 weeks before the
Mhm.
meeting, it could be 3 business days. It would mean we have a tendency
If-
to sometimes don't have stuff ready until that.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Sure.
Sometimes we're still putting it together on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
to be honest with you, but
So if we had to have it ready, say Tuesday of that week,
Mhm.
right.
that would definitely affect, the
yeah.
workload for staff.
Yep, yep.
As far as getting it ready earlier, and then we'd have to have the applicants turn in their applications sooner.
Mhm.
Um,
When do you send
Yeah.
out the notice, Laura, about, who's going to be able to attend so we can assure we have a quorum? Usually that Thursday or something like that. Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe if commission members know that they may be anticipating, when the meeting's going to be.
Mhm.
Second,
Yeah.
you might have a long weekend, to give it Laura a heads up before you go, kind of a thing. might
Yeah,
be
that makes
something
sense.
To also,
Yeah, we'd like to know the previous week if you're going to be here or not, so that we're not canceling the meeting at the last minute because we don't have a quorum.
right,
Yeah,
that gets to be a problem.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because, people are lined up for cable TV and we have other, agenda items. Say there's another applicant that needs approval of a certificate of appropriateness, they've got their schedule too. So
Yep.
the sooner we know, the better.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree with all that. And I'm kind of under the same impression of that. We know it's the second Monday of every month. So
Mhm.
presumably you should be making room on the schedule for that. Obviously other things come up and you have those. But so when the agenda and stuff goes out, that's more just a pulse check of, hey, just double checking, making sure you can make it so we know, if we're going to have quorum or not. So in general, I don't think the timing of when the agenda goes out is really should necessarily be affecting attendance. So I think the 3 days is probably good notice, but
Sure.
Okay.
We staff other boards and commissions too, the Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Adjustment. And then there's, city council that, we have reports to do for all those.
Mhm.
So if we were to back this up, it could easily start conflicting
A
with
domino on it.
preparation of the reports for some of those other ones. So that, there's still time to do all the various reports we have to do.
I think really just
Yeah.
the concern was that
Yeah.
we know we have enough folks to show up
Yes.
sooner
Yeah.
than
Right.
Monday at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The day
Yes.
of the meeting.
Yeah.
That was
No.
my only
Mhm.
concern.
Yep.
So.
Yep. No, that's a good point.
We very much are trying to stay on top of that.
Cool.
Any other comments on the bylaws?
Hello.
Hello, Bob.
I think you've got a seat right next to Mary Jo here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It starts at 6.
We started at 6. But you know what?
That explains why
here.
you were here.
Sorry.
That's it. So,
Glad you're here.
Yeah. You too.
do you want to take a brief break?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think, Bob, you got an agenda in front of you. We just wrapped up with item number 8 on it. But we did a little pause earlier. We'll go ahead and do another one now. Earlier, we took an opportunity for
Sure.
the new members to introduce themselves to everyone. So we'd like to afford you the same opportunity. So if I think you met a couple of us in person already. I met you virtually once, but I'm guessing you haven't met Mary Jo yet. So if you wanted to take a moment to introduce yourself, it'd be great.
Okay, that's dangerous though.
Yeah.
When I worked for the Attorney General's office, we had a delegation from Russia. I forget what they were here for, but a bunch of politicians during the Soviet Union time. Or no, it was after that. And that's how they started. Introduce yourself. Well, an hour later, there were only 3 or 4 of them. They had to give their whole history and this and that, and this and that. My name's Bob Ewald. I'm from Des Moines. Lived in Ames since, for 43 years. I taught foreign languages for 5 years. Got a law degree. Worked for the Attorney General's office for 28 years. First for the DOT, and then I moved to Des Moines, not moved to Des Moines, but transferred, and worked in criminal appeals the next 17 years. So, that enough?
Yeah.
And you're a resident of the Chautauqua Ridgewood
Right.
neighborhood.
Right.
So we
Cool.
just did our intensive survey. So
Mhm.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
it was great.
Any questions?
You haven't met Mary Jo yet.
Hi.
Yes. Go ahead. Do you
Well,
know if you had anything?
I'm going on my 3rd year
Mhm.
on the commission. So, and I'm from Ames originally, and I moved back here in 2020, and I worked, my career was historic preservation. So I wanted to be on the commission to kind of share my knowledge. So
Our other member who you haven't met, Angie Coles, will probably be at our next meeting, but she is a resident of the Old Town neighborhood.
Okay. good.
So, anyway, glad you made it.
I'm just sorry for being late.
That's
No,
okay.
it's okay.
it's kind
I
of.
thought
an
I was
odd time.
early.
It's
All righty. Next item on the agenda is commission comments. Are there any additional comments from the commission that we have not touched upon yet?
I will comment for Bob that we had officer elections and
Oh,
Scott
yes.
is our new chair as of
Yep.
this evening.
Yep, they
Yes.
they put me in the front right away.
Yep,
so.
give him the gavel. Yeah, pass it on down.
You're the architect.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I remember you were on the street once.
Yep.
And for continuity, Mary Jo's going to serve as the
Vice chair.
vice chair.
Again.
Yeah, again, yeah, she was. So, yeah, we'll have to bring you up to speed a little bit here. I was under the item number 7, the commission is participating in the 515 celebration on Main Street next week. And History Night is Thursday night. So I can give you more details later if you think you might be willing to be able to participate with several of
sure.
us. So, okay.
All right. If there's no additional comments, we'll move on to staff comments.
Just one item. The Preserve Iowa Summit, Mary Jo is going to attend, represent the commission. And that's in Sioux City in the very first part of, first
June.
few days of June.
Mhm.
Yep. And Eloise Sahlstrom, another planner in our office, she will attend for staff.
Okay.
So just the two of them this year.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
So, I know.